Russia aims to realign the world. That is exactly what they're doing in this point in time, here, right now, cozying up to China, China cozying up to Russia. And where are we? Clearly nowhere. And as a result, Ukraine now about to be entirely destroyed. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Trish Regan Show. I'm Trish. It's good to have you here. A quick reminder that portions of today's program are brought to you by Legacy Precious Metals. There's clearly never been a time to invest in precious metals like gold. Right now, go to legacypminvestments.com. Again, that's legacypminvestments.com. We're going to talk a little bit later in the program coming up about gold and how to think about investing in this environment. But first, let's go back to topic of the day, which is the reality that Joe Biden and company just do not want to face, and that is that Russia is realigning the world as we speak. You know, I'm really just stunned and disgusted by the fact that we have not done what we can and what we should in terms of sanctions. We have still not sanctioned Russian oil. I mean, imagine that. What is going on? What is the thinking? Why would you not just say, you know what, you're done, no more of any of this coming in? And by the way, why is Gazprom, the natural gas company, state-sponsored by Russia, still trading on the London Stock Exchange, or Lukoil, the oil company from Russia, for that matter? In other words, we as a world, we as NATO, need to say, yeah, we're not doing business with these murderers. And yet, we have not done that most basic thing. Why? Why? Is Joe Biden that afraid of gas prices going up? Look, he's made his bed, okay? This is his problem now. We will look back on this time. We will equate it with the 1970s and Jimmy Carter. We predicted it would be Jimmy Carter. We just didn't think it'd be quite this bad as Jimmy Carter all over again. You will be seeing gas lines. You will see tremendous pain at the gas pumps as a result of inflation. There's ways that we could get around this, by the way, but apparently nobody has two brain cells there in Washington, D.C. Where is Biden on all this? I mean, he should be out front and center and saying, you know what, we're not going to allow any business with Russia, and anybody who does business with Russia is not doing business with us. This is what they did in Venezuela. Remember that? When they just cut Venezuela off with all the sanctions. By the way, like, he's looking like a pussycat, Nicolas Maduro, compared to Vladimir Putin these days. But we put sanctions in there, completely cut them off, and yet we're not even doing that with Russia. They're actually still on Wall Street trading in the secondary market Russian debt. So you can buy debt up to like March 1st. You can trade it. Come on. You cut them off, okay? Like, the guy's murdering children. It's pretty hard. And I don't want to get too emotional about it because it's been an emotional week. But when I see parents, I don't know if you've seen the picture of the man who is hovering over his child's dead body, who's covered in a sheet, and you see the blood and everything, and this tiny little body, and the man's crying. And like, how is it that we can sit there and say we're still going to allow traders to make money off of investing in Russia right now in this point in time? Where is Joe Biden? Where is the left standing up for some sense of morality? Clearly, they don't have any. Again, there's a way around this. There's a way around this by just being smarter. I mean, I'm shocked by the level of stupidity in Washington, but it keeps rearing its head over and over and over again. And America needs to be smarter. We need smarter people. They're thinking through our diplomatic alliances, which have been redrawn right before our very eyes. I mean, we won't have a pipeline between Canada and the U.S., yet Russia gets to have one with China. Think about the implications of that. Joe Biden's killing Keystone XL, despite the fact that it would mean better energy independence here in the free world, in the Western Hemisphere. No, he'd rather take oil from Russia. Like, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, at least Germany's figured out. It's probably not so smart to have those natural gas pipelines that you're relying on from Russia. I'll tell you, we need to think long and hard, because we're also making mistakes right here in our hemisphere. And I have said for years now, that we should not be allowing our Western Hemisphere, a country like Venezuela, to be influenced as heavily as it's being influenced by the Russians, by the Chinese, by the Iranians. This is a country that has cultural similarities to us that we should be working with. Now, I know it's tough. I mean, I think that the Maduro regime, the Chavistas, there's some very, very bad history there. And there's a lot of people in the U.S., myself included, that feel very strongly that some changes would have to happen. But we should be thinking about that right now. Because the last thing we want are Russians down there 2.5 hours from the coast of Miami, hanging out in Venezuela. That can't happen. Nicolas Maduro, this is newsworthy, came out just yesterday, this is the head of Venezuela, and said that he was willing to sell oil to Europeans and to the United States of America. That's an interesting development. Of course, you have to understand, of course, he's willing to sell it. I mean, he's got it, and he can't sell his product anywhere except to, the Chinese and the Russians and the Iranians. He takes a really big discount on all of that. You got oil now at $113 a barrel. What if you could have U.S. energy companies there? What if they put free and fair elections in and he cut off all ties with Russia and China and Iran, and we were actually the dominant player down there? It's something to think about. I mean, in the grand scheme of things right now, I'm just saying, Vladimir Putin is a war criminal. Vladimir Putin is killing children. Vladimir Putin is destroying Ukraine. What the heck he wants with it now, I don't know, because what are you going to go back to? You've got a bunch of bombed out buildings and a population that, if any are there, will utterly hate you. I mean, most are leaving. It's predicted that there will be a refugee crisis, a massive refugee crisis of 5 million people that are leaving in this mass exodus Ukraine. I don't know what his end game is, other than to try and needle the rest of the world. I mean, you now have Finland and Sweden saying, we want to be part of NATO naturally. Who doesn't want to? I mean, if you're over there, you are a sitting duck. And good luck trying to get the United States to your rescue. Which is why we really need to think about basically locking down what we have right here in the Western Hemisphere. And Venezuela is a country with a lot of cultural similarity to us. We just have to work through this, the communism, socialism thing, and they're working through it. Actually, there have been a couple of papers that have pointed this out, including the New York Times, and I know we don't love the New York Times, and they're sort of commies themselves, it seems like, over there. But there have been some articles suggesting that there's been more capitalist type of infrastructure that's been coming into play there in Venezuela, in part because, they have to. Look, every country that has tried that system of government has utterly failed. From China to Russia, by the way, it's utterly failed. So they've all put capitalist economic principles into work. And I think that could happen in Venezuela as well. We need to think about the carrot and stick thing, though, here. Right? We've been all sticks. It didn't work because Maduro's still there. So maybe if you have a little carrot stuff going along the way, that can influence the situation in bigger, better ways. I've spoken in the past with Delcy Rodriguez, who is the vice president of Venezuela. And I remember her telling me how she was willing to do business with anyone. And they've really had no choice, right? Like, they were willing to do business with the Russians. But what if we could change that? What if they weren't willing to do business with Russians because, hey, guess what? We're paying a heck lot more for oil right now. And you want to be on our side. We need to think about sides here, people. I mean, you can't cut off your nose to spite your face. We need for the world to take sides. And we do not need people in our hemisphere lined up against us. It doesn't work. We need to be smarter. I cannot emphasize that enough. Anyway, we'll see how this develops. But I would just point out that we need to greenlight Keystone. The oil can be drilled right here in the U.S. We can sell to the Europeans. We can sell a lot, and we can help drive down what they would otherwise pay. And by the way, we can open up the Orinoco region, which I've been to in Venezuela, and that is a massive, massive, massive source of oil. It's actually larger, it's said to be, than Saudi Arabia in terms of the vast resources there. We're equipped, by the way, with all our Texas refineries to refine this stuff like nobody's business. We've been taking in this stuff from Russia. Forget about it. Let's start thinking about using our economic power while we still have it to influence in the world, to influence the world in a way that is advantageous to us. It's just important to do. Okay, coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about the markets, about oil prices, about the Federal Reserve, but a quick word from one of our newest sponsors here. I just want to mention, I don't know about you, but like, I take daily vitamins. Until I actually talked to this company, I was kind of doing it the old-fashioned way. And I remember my doctor saying, Trish, like, you don't really need all those vitamins because your body can't really absorb them. But if you're going to take your vitamin D, make sure you take it with milk, blah, blah, blah. And then I was talking to Healthy Cell, and Healthy Cell was actually explaining something that I really ought to have known, but I didn't necessarily, or hadn't really thought about it. Just kind of went through the tradition of taking my vitamins every day. And what they explained to me was similar to what my doctor had been saying, which is that you need to be able to absorb these vitamins, and that's different than just taking them in pill form. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and when they came to me and they wanted to have me talk about this, I thought it would be worthwhile sharing with you. They have all these different packets out there. They're sort of a gel-like form. I'm just going to show you right now because they sent me some, and they're really, really neat. You mix this stuff, or you can shoot it, just drink it. You can mix it in a drink, and it has all of these nutrients to help your immune system, to give you that boost, all kinds of things. If I look at the packet, I mean, you're getting all your daily vitamins in here, which is really critical. Vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin B, all this stuff. And you're getting it in a way that's sort of a food-like formula. It tastes pretty good. I'll tell you, it tastes good. Vitamins don't always taste good, but this tastes very good. And in this microgel way that I think is well, I mean, they call it sort of revolutionary, but if you look at all the studies, and they shared some of them with me, I talked about them on the program just 2 days ago. The studies show that your absorption rate is far, far, far better if you take your vitamins in this kind of form. So check it out. The company is called Healthy Cell. As I said, they're a new advertiser on the program, so we welcome them. The code word, because I like a discount, right? is 20% off if you use the code word Trish. So go to healthycell.com, code word Trish, check that out, and take your vitamins. Anyway, turning now back to the political situation at hand with all of this going on. I mean, we're not willing right now to enforce the airspace situation. And NATO made that call, and we're not going to differ in any way from that. But it just tells you that, Ukraine's really, really out there on its own. And we don't want to be in a situation in the future where we ever feel, not that we would, I mean, we're still the United States of America, but you got some big players there. You get China, which will soon rival us in terms of the overall size of its economy. You've got Russia. I still believe that the U.S. is the safe haven in the world, and we can talk about investing in a second because it is U.S. treasuries, it is gold, it is the U.S. dollar, it is still U.S. equities that people want to be in a time like this. Nonetheless, look, the United States of America long-term is increasingly in a vulnerable position, and not just long-term, I mean, I would argue even in the short term, given what we are seeing. It's one of the reasons why we really need to be very, very focused. And if Joe Biden knew what was good for him, if he knew, he actually would be smarter about this in the here and now in terms of establishing the right alliances for our Western Hemisphere to help protect the U.S. going forward. But, they're so distracted by the politics of the moment. The politics of the moment is not very good. It actually shows Joe Biden at the lowest approval rating we have ever seen. Understandably so. I mean, when you think about Afghanistan, the disaster there, when you think about the inflation that the economy was already dealing with, now you're coupling in all of the inflation that they'll be getting at the gas pumps. I think I told you guys, I was pumping up my SUV because, I'm one of those gas guzzling SUV drivers. I am looking at a Tesla, by the way. Love Elon Musk. But I've got my SUV and I'm filling it up, and the guy at the gas station says to me, as I look at it, and we're over $4 a barrel in $4 a gallon in my neck of the woods, and he said, yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing a 5 on that just in the next couple of weeks. I think he's right. I think you could be looking at $9 a gallon come the start of the summer driving season, and that's with us still theoretically being able to trade Russian oil. I mean, once that is cut off, who knows? I mean, good luck. You could be looking at $15, even higher, which is why you've got to be smarter about the energy sources that you have right now. Otherwise, Joe Biden will feel this political fall. I don't care. You can get AOC and all her green buddies all worked up. You can get John Kerry all worked up. He's already stressed that we're not focused enough on the environment right now. We're not focused enough on global warming and climate change. I'm sorry, this is war, people. And I have no problem with any of that. Like I said, I'm looking at a Tesla. I'm all for green energy. I really and truly am. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I've written on this. I've written on the importance of this industry. I think it's a good thing to be invested in right now because it does have a future. But simultaneously, you cannot flip a switch and change the world to green energy. You actually have to make sure that this is rolled out in stages. It's going to take time to develop. We want it to happen. But what do you do for the whole population in the interim? Are you going to shut off the U.S. economy because you don't have your green energy yet? I don't think so. I don't think so. So there are political consequences associated with all of this. And he's so distracted by the politics and AOC and worried about Bernie Sanders and what they're all going to say that he misses the forest for the trees. He misses every opportunity to do the right thing. We saw this with inflation. I mean, the Federal Reserve, my gosh, the Federal Reserve finally announced that they're going to hike rates by 25 basis points, less than we thought, right? 25 basis points, a quarter of a point. Whoop-de-doo. I mean, what cracked me up was, this is unbelievable. Jerome Powell finally admitted what we all knew, which is that, maybe he should have moved sooner, that they got it wrong. He said, gee, this is in the Humphrey Hopkins testimony this week, and let me see if I can find you the exact quote because I'm not going to be able to do it justice. But basically the moral of the story was if we had known that it was going to be that bad, then you know what? We would have moved sooner. But I'm sorry, Jerome, you should have been smarter. I mean, look, I'm just a layperson. I don't work at the Federal Reserve, but I knew. Okay, so here's what he said. If we had known inflation wouldn't improve, we would have used tools sooner. Duh. I mean, everybody knew that inflation wasn't going to improve. Everyone knew that inflation was getting worse. Everyone knew that. I mean, how could you be so far up in your ivory tower that you don't get the most basic thing that's happening in Americans' lives, and that's that prices are going up. And that's not going to change. Now it's about to get worse. So the Fed's in a bit of a spot. It's got to hike rates at a time when we're looking at a massive conflict. But what else is it going to do? Because energy prices are just going to upend everything. A quick reminder, I was just over on Locals. I want you to connect with me there. You can help support the show there on Locals. TrishRegan.locals.com is the name of the site. I've got a wonderful little group there. I'd love for you to be part of the group with us there. Just a terrific team of people that are looking at all the news of the day, helping to share that information with me and all the community members. It is truly great. And there's no algorithms, by the way, so you're not dealing with all the algorithms that you typically deal with where they're trying to shut down. Oh, Trish said this, Trish said that, Trish mentioned this word. Oh, boom. Like there's certain words that trigger the algorithms that you can't even say, for goodness sakes. And so what I love about this space, it's small, but it's growing and it's free of these algorithms that interfere with our ability to connect and to speak directly. So go to trishregan.locals.com. I'd love to have you there. We'll welcome you with open arms. And it's nice. It's refreshing. It's a very, very refreshing place to be. Anyway, back to these rate hikes. They are going to happen, but it's not really going to make the dent in inflation that people would think, which is one of the reasons why in this environment, I really do love gold. Gold is one of those investments that has stood the test of time. It's a proven asset, right? And let me just point out that gold today is trading at it's up 1.83% at 1,971. Boy, you should have listened to me back when I was telling you to buy it at 1,500, right? I've talked about gold forever, but I just think about when the show was first starting and I was saying this is a worthwhile investment just to help even out your portfolio. I don't recommend that, you put everything in gold, but having maybe up to 5% of your portfolio in gold is a worthwhile thing to do, or maybe having a gold-backed IRA. And then there are those that want the gold in the basement, and I get it. Believe me, I get it. When you see everything that's happening, you should see like my supply of during coronavirus. I got a lot of beans and canned goods and soups, and the kids are like, huh? Anyway, there are people that want gold in their basement, and if you're one of those people, this is the company that you need to call, LegacyPMInvestments.com. They can help you with a gold-backed IRA. They are LegacyPMInvestments.com. They've been in business for like 40 years. Wonderful guy there, Charles. He's been on the program. I encourage you to call them, 1-866-589-0560. Give them a ring. You can use my name. I promise you they'll take good care of you. I know it's a scary time right now. I know you want to make sure that all of your investments keep their value. And when inflation comes, that's when it's really hard to make sure that your dollar holds and retains its value. I mean, when energy prices go up like this, it has an effect on the rest of the economy, causing prices to go up. Well, when prices go up, that matters, right? Because you can't afford as much with your dollar when they're sinking the value of the dollar. And fortunately, right now, I should point out that the dollar has continued performing decently well. That's in part because, again, it's a fear factor. People are fearful. But the long-term trajectory of our US dollar, and with all this debt, is not in a good spot. And you have all this inflation. It's a reason why I'm happy I sleep at night, because I have gold in my portfolio. I want you to be able to sleep well at night too. So consider calling 1-866-589-0560, 1-866-589-0560. Anyway, it's a crazy time, and I think it's going to get even crazier. I want us to think long and hard about our future in ways that, this is a game of chess, right? As one of the folks on Local said to me today when we were doing our live Q&A, Putin is still the ultimate KGB guy, and he's playing a game of chess. Yes, I think that he was misled. I don't think that he had any idea that there would be this kind of resistance from the Ukrainian people. That said, he's working with China. China, by the way, is very smart. They're not emotional about any of this, and they've got to be looking at the situation and thinking, okay, well, maybe we can take Taiwan then, right? Like, why not, right? Like, Putin took Ukraine. I think they do recognize that it would be extremely painful, but nonetheless, I'm troubled by this. It's like he's getting away with it, and he'll continue to get away with it. And the more that we signal we're allowing Putin to get away with this, what signal are we sending to China? These are big picture strategic relation issues that we need to confront head on, because the United States of America is a wonderful country, and we need to remain a free, wonderful country. And that means maintaining and protecting, and it means growing our position in the world. Just a quick reminder, TrishIntel.com is my website. I do hope you've liked this video. Do like it on Rumbles, on YouTube, wherever you're watching it, on Facebook, and join me over in that community. Join me at TrishIntel.com, where we have all your news and information. You can sign up for my newsletter there, and I will see you right back here on Monday.